Hello everybody, it is I, the Flawhunter, and today we're going to flaw hunt Halo Reach. This was supposed to be Bungie's last game, and it was supposed to be one of their bests. And while the game was pretty good, unfortunately, not only did it have plenty of flaws, but it was handled poorly throughout its life cycle. And no, I'm not gonna bother talking about the armor abilities and how overpowered the armor lock and camo was, because they were nerfed in the title update, so I'm not gonna bother complaining about it. Oh, and unlike the last review, this time I'm actually going to include some gameplay footage here. But there are two things I must let you know about this. The gameplay footage does not belong to me. Most of the footage you'll see is borrowed from Halo Waypoint and such. So yeah, I hope you don't mind if I borrowed them for a while. And another thing, the video quality is unfortunately low, so I apologize for that, but this ain't gonna be a high quality review. I just want to talk about the problems I have with Reach, okay? But hey, at least it's better than not having any gameplay footage at all. So if you're getting a little bored of me talking about the game and whatnot, at least the gameplay footage, even if it's low quality, will keep you occupied and entertained, so at least you'll have something to watch while I talk about the game. So without further ado, let's begin flaw hunting Halo Reach, shall we? Let's start off with the minor issues. First, I feel there should have been more achievements to try and get. Like, especially in the campaign, where I think there should have been achievements where you have to, like, score a certain amount of points in each campaign mission. You know, I mean, Halo 3 has them, so why not this game? And when I call them data pads, I mean these intel. I'm sorry, I just don't know what their name is. I just kind of forgot. Now, there's also those data pads that are usually found in hidden areas of each of the campaign missions, and while they do contain some interesting information as you find them, but I never bothered to collect them because there is no achievements for it! Seriously, why can't we have achievements for finding those data pads? Also, it would have been nice to have more skulls to choose from, or at least bring back some of the skulls from Halo 2. I mean, heck, one skull that I think they could have had is like maybe this ghost skull where almost every enemy is semi-cloaked, so it makes it a little bit harder to see, and plus Spec Ops Elites will appear a bit more often. And yeah. Oh yeah, and I heard Fear Mode doesn't support having online parties around, so yeah, that's kind of a shame, but it doesn't bother me too much since I don't do it often anyways. Now let's take a look at the flaws in Firefight. First off, there's no drones in it. Really? I mean, seriously, why can't we fight drones in firefights? I mean, we can fight the drones in Halo 3 ODST's firefights, so why not this game? I mean, yeah, the drones in ODST firefight was kind of annoying, but at least in Halo Reach, they seem to be nerfed and toned down a bit. Actually, now that I think about it, the drones don't usually appear as often as they do in the previous games. I mean, heck, in Halo Reach, they only appear in 2 missions, or 3 if you play that one mission in a harder difficulty. Also, it would have been nice if we can have set skulls, you know, skulls that would appear once you enter a new set, you know, like in Halo 3 ODST. Also, in maps that support vehicles, like the Warthog, you know, it would have been nice if we can select which type of Warthog that we would like to spawn, like maybe either the chain gun, or the missile, or the Gauss. Yeah, that would be nice. Now let's look at the Heretic enemy types. Now in Firefight, it's nice that you could get to choose to fight against Covenant enemies that uses human weapons. Too bad it's only the elites. And in fact, it's not just elites, they appear in freaking packs, so they're kind of overpowered, especially when they use precision weapons or heavy explosive weapons. That's where they can get annoying. It would have been nice if more enemy types use UNSC weapons, like grunts using the magnums, and some heavy grunts using rocket launchers, and we can have jackals and skirmishers that uses the pistols, DMRs, and sniper rifles, and other enemies that could have used human weapons would be the brutes and maybe the drones, and yeah. Now as for generator defense, it was not as good as we would expect it to be. I mean, back then when we played the multiplayer beta, and then we played this new game type called Generator Defense, we thought it was fun, you know? It was like Spartans versus Elites. Elites had to destroy the generators while the Spartans had to defend them. And it was fun, you know? In fact, it would have been more fun if we could have more players, you know? And then came the official game. Generator defense was not like it was in the beta. Instead, we just had to fight against a bunch of enemies, and of course, even in Firefight versus mode is totally not the same. I mean, come on, you can't even allow the regenerators to regenerate some of its health when you complete a round or something. Why couldn't generator defense also be a game mode in the main multiplayer mode? I mean, seriously, it would have been fun playing with a bunch of players, you know? And we would have had, like, more options to choose from. Like, we could also have made it so that both teams can have generators, or just one. And we can make it so if it's not just Spartans versus Elites, but even with Spartans only or Elites only, and yeah, you get the idea. Generator defense would have been a good game type, but they just had to ruin it. Now let's look at the problems with Forge. I mean, first off, you cannot have more than 2 lights. I mean, seriously, why can we only have up to 2 lights? Why can't we have it up to 8 or 10? That would have been cool, you know, adding more light and color to our maps. There also should have been more stuff to choose from in Forge World, like some neat objects from the other maps, like vending machines and whatnot. Also, it would have been nice if we can set your default trots when starting a Forge game, so you don't have to always set your sayings to the appropriate trots you want to have when playing a Forge game. So you could just save it, so then you can always be like that, unless you want to change it. Oh yeah, and you also cannot change game types while in the Forge game, unlike in Halo 3, where you can just change the game type and there you are. But in Halo Reach, you have to like exit the game, switch game type, and then restart the game. Yeah, it kinda gets annoying. Also, it would have been nice if we can, like, you know, set which vehicles that can only be used by one team and cannot be used by enemy teams until it's used by its chosen team and then captured by the enemy. Like, for example, if you set to red team, then only the red team can be able to use it, and the other teams like blue cannot use it unless the red team uses their red team vehicles, and then the enemy captures it, and then they can use it. Also, it would have been nice if we can change colors on the Forge palette objects. So, you know, we don't always have to have those bland gray Forge maps. Now let's look at the flaws in custom games. First off, you cannot have infinite or regenerating grenades. I mean, seriously, why? Why didn't you bring back the regenerating grenades option from Halo 3? I mean, that's just ridiculous. You just forgot or something? Speaking of grenades, you cannot set to how many grenades we can carry up to, like between 1 to 4. I mean, you can only carry up to 2 grenades and that's it. I mean, seriously, come on. Sure, you can start with 3 or 4 frag or plasma grenades, but that doesn't mean you can restock up to 3 or 4 grenades. So, really, what the fuck? And why can't we carry up to 3 or 4 grenades in the campaign? I mean, seriously, at least in Halo 3, we have 2 more grenade types, but in Halo Reach, we only have 2, so I think it would have been more fair if we can carry up to 3 or 4 of them in the campaign, and maybe even Firefight. If there's one thing they could have added for custom games, is the ability to add custom trots for each loadout. So you can, like, if you choose that loadout, it will grant you special trots. Like, one loadout will let you do extra damage, one loadout will give you an overshield, and yeah, you get it. Also, why don't we have a species setting? It would have been nice to set the setting to which species only appear in this game type, like Spartans only, or Elites only, or by preference. And if we have teams on, we can set it to Spartans versus Elites. So one team can be Spartans, and the other team will be Elites. There's no team color, so the only difference is the looks. And by the way, why can't almost every game type can have a Spartan versus Elite setting rather than the Spartan versus Elite setting only being available to Firefight and Invasion? Also, if there's one thing that bothers me when it comes to adding in new game types and settings, is that they don't bother to update the locked default game types to include those new settings. Speaking of which, they should have also updated like every single game type to include the power on kill sayings outside of Power Slayer. Also, it would have been nice if the score sayings have some more point options, like assist bonus, where if you gain an assist, you earn a point more. Also, in King of the Hill of this game, you cannot really score points while the hill is contested. You have to be like full control of the hill in order to score points. You know, it would have been nice if we could like have an option to score points while the hill is contested. And another thing, I hate Invasion Slayer. It is possibly by far the worst game type they ever made in this game. Like, first off, you have no vehicles in the freaking start. The only way to get vehicles is from those weapon drops. And speaking of weapon drops, in order to actually get most of the power weapons in the vehicles, you have to capture control points. and once you capture the control point, then you have to wait a few seconds for it to come, and then you'll have the weapon and vehicles you want. Just make sure the enemy doesn't get its hands on it, or otherwise they'll steal it, so making your capture a bit pointless, and of course it would mostly counter you. Why couldn't they make it so that once you capture the Orient, it pretty much disappears immediately, and plus the enemy cannot take its hands on it because they're not the ones who capture the freaking control point? Oh yeah, as for the Ordnance drops, it should just be weapons only. And as for the vehicles, they will appear at the start at each of the bases, and they will appear more as we progress to the next phases. And by the way, I'm glad they made Invasion Skirmish, which is like a major improvement over Invasion Slayer. It's just a shame that they never bothered to remove Invasion Slayer entirely and just have Invasion Skirmish replace it. Now back to the subject of custom games. If there is one thing that the custom games should have had most of all, is a custom game search option. You know, so we can search for any available custom game we can play on no matter what it is, and we can have preferences to set which type of custom game we want to find and play, thus making custom games much more easier to find and play. Now to the subject of weapons and vehicles. You know, it's great that 343 Industries has allowed the Magnum to work like it was in Halo Combat Evolved in the anniversary game types. It's too bad that they haven't given us an option to make the Magnum work like it was in Reach or in Combat Evolved in any game type. Also, weapons like the Assault Rifle, Plasma Repeater, Focus Rifle, and the Plasma Launcher have been nerfed badly and should have either never been nerfed, or at least given us the option to make those weapons be as effective as they were in the beta. It would have been nice if they added in the Covenant version of the Magnum called the Carbine Handgun, you know, so the elites can start with a Magnum, but it's Covenant themed. I mean, heck, if we can have like a golf club that pretty much works like a hammer, why not have a Covenant pistol that works exactly like the Magnum? Also, I think the Neo rifle should have been able to like shoot faster, like as fast as the Carbine, and also be able to damage vehicles with DMR. Also, I think they should have kept the beam rifle. I mean, heck, if you can like keep the Spiker and the Plasma rifle, and they pretty much do both the same thing, and the only difference is that for the Spiker you have to worry about reloading, while for the Plasma rifle you have to worry about not overheating the weapon. So yeah, why not have a beam rifle in the game? I mean, heck, for the sniper rifle you have to worry about reloading, while for the beam rifle you have to worry about not overheating the damn thing. Also, since they allowed the Plasma Repeater and the Plasma Rifle to coexist in this game, why not allow the Assault Rifle and the SMG to coexist in this game? And the SMG in Halo Reach should function like it was in ODST, where it had the silencer and a scope, so it may not be as effective as the Assault Rifle, but it's a bit more accurate and it has a scope. So yeah, that would be cool. Also, I think they should have added in the anti-air Fuel-Rod Wraith in this game, this time make it fully playable. And its Fuel-Rod cannons could pretty much function like the Missile Warthog turret, except the difference is it could be usable by the driver and it shoots fuel rods, and it's still able to home in on flying vehicles and whatnot. And it would seriously rival the Scorpion tank, like just shoot all 6 fuel rod shots at the tank and then bam, it would destroy it. Also, if there's one vehicle that I consider to be overpowered, it will probably be the Banshee. While it is awesome if it's in your hands or in the hands of your allies, but if it's in the hands of the enemy, good lord, I hate the Banshee in this game! I mean, not only does it shoot fuel rods that can like home in on vehicles and instantly kill players, but combined with the somersaults and the barrels you pull off, this Banshee is freaking overpowered! Also, if you attempt to take down the Banshee just by locking onto it and shooting homing projectiles at it, well, you can forget it. Cause all the Banshee pilot has to do is do a barrel roll, or try a somersault, and then the homing projectiles will completely forget about the Banshee and be like, wait, who was I trying to home in on again? The Banshee's barrel rolls and somersaults should have been toned down, and the homing projectiles should never lose track of the Banshee no matter what, so the Banshee pilot has to be smart and try to get rid of those homing projectiles by making them hit something. I swear, that Banshee is more overpowered than the Hornets from Halo 3. In fact, speaking of the Hornets, I think they should have brought back the Hornets for Halo Reach, so it can better rifle the Banshee. I mean, sure, its weapons are strong, but it isn't as maneuverable as the Banshee, so it can be easier to take out than the Banshee. And also in Forge, I think they should have allowed us to add vehicles that were in the campaign, such as the Machine Gun Falcon, the Fuel Shade, some civilian vehicles like the ever-popular forklift. Hey guys, look at me! I'm in the forklift, and I'm gonna take down my enemies with my forklift! Yeah! Watch me ram down my enemies with my forklift, even though I'm moving slow and doing almost no damage to them, but that's okay because I'm in the forklift! Oh no, my shields are out, but that's okay because I'll be saving my forklift! Oh shit, now I'm dead! I question sometimes on why people think this forklift is so cool. But now we get to the worst part of Reach. The one aspect of the game that pretty much ruined my experience of it involves around matchmaking. Like, for one, there's just some choices that I think they should have made in order to make matchmaking better. Like, I think they should have merged Team Ejected in the Super Slayer playlist for fair population, and maybe make it a 5-player playlist called Skirmish Squad. And I think there should be 2 multi-team playlists, one where it has 5 teams, each with 2 players, and includes Slayer game types, along with some objective ones like King of the Hill, Oddball, Headhunter, and Rocket Race. And the other one would have 4 teams, each with 3 players, and it mainly includes all objective game types that supports up to 4 teams, including Oddball, King of the Hill, Stockpile, Capture the Flag, Assault, and Rocket Hog Race. And I think there also should have been 2 big team battle playlists, like one mainly for objective game types, and one mainly for Slayer game types, which will also include Invasion Skirmish game types. An Invasion playlist would just be about the main Invasion game type. Also, I think they should have added Community Forge maps to Rumble Pit and the multi-team playlists. Also, it did took them a while to add community maps for Invasion and the Living Dead playlist. Besides, they could have done it way earlier. But now we get to the worst decisions. Like, they refused to add in the Firefight Versus playlist. And when they finally did add one, it was only for a limited time, and the game types they had in it was terrible. And then they decided to remove it and never bothered to bring it back in because they thought, I guess nobody likes Firefight Versus. No, the only reason why we didn't like it is because of the game types you included in it. You should have included just the default Firefight Versus game types. And also, recently in August, they decided to remove some playlists due to low population, such as Action Sack, the main DLC playlist, and Anniversary Big Team Battle Free-For-All, without giving us a way to play those game types and maps and matchmaking. And plus, people would have gone back to playing it during the last few weeks before Halo 4 comes out. So really, the removal of those playlists was not just pointless, but heartless too! I mean, seriously, why did you have to remove Action Sack? I mean, it had lots of fun game types to play through. I mean, heck, Halo 3 still has Action Sack, so why not this game? And although the removal of Anniversary Big Team Battle Free-For-All would have been fine if Big Team Battle Royale Rumble Pit now including Anniversary maps, game types, and easily pairs players who have it, they didn't bother to make the normal map pack free, just like the heroic map pack in Halo 3. And I heard the reason why they made the heroic map pack free was because it didn't sell well, and they wanted more people to play those maps, so they made it free. So why didn't they do the same for the normal map pack in Reach? Also, they didn't bother to reduce the cost for the Defiant map pack. I mean, look at the Legendary map pack. They reduced the price from 800 points to 600 points on Bungie Day, and then later on they reduced the price to 160 points. So why didn't they do the same for the Defiant map pack? I mean, come on! And finally, they didn't even bother to include a DLC-only preference option, which would have made it much easier for us to play against only players who owned the DLC map packs. So yeah, because of that, and the fact that they removed the only playlist that guaranteed the means to play the Noble and Defiant maps, it made it almost impossible for us to play those maps. Way to go, you idiots. Alright, I think I'm done flaw hunting Halo Reach. Boy, this is my second review, and the video has already lasted this long. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think Halo Reach is a pretty good game. But like I said earlier, it could have been great. It could have been one of Bungie's best. But due to the flaws that I mentioned earlier, and how poorly handled its matchmaking and DLC was, Halo Reach is a really flawed game, unfortunately. Well, I think that's all for now. This is the Flawhunter, and I thank you for watching this video.